Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from TrueGreen7 about how he made Pokemon that are missing one stat. Now, if you don't remember, in a previous video he did, and he actually made Pokemon that only had one stat. And by that he means they had the max that they could have, which was 255, and in every other stat they only had one. In this case, it's time for the inverse. Of course, you can't max them out in all stats because then they'd be stronger than God.
Hey guys, Ron here, and earlier this year I designed
Hey,
Pokemon
Ron.
that only had one stat. They were maxed out in only speed or only defense, while having the minimum amount for every other stat. Y'all love that so much that
Oh, right, hold on. Kinda forgot. You guys want to be able to see the shiny? Now you can.
I thought
Boom.
I would do the opposite. Let's call it pulling a Shedinja. Just like that Pokemon, the fake mon I'm making today will be missing one stat. So they'll have average special defense and HP, but one single point for, let's say, attack. It's harder than you think, and I'm sure that you and I have different ways that we think
I am actually curious on how you could do this at all.
a
I have no
defenseless
idea.
Pokemon would look like, or a Pokemon without speed. But if you like the concept of designing Fakemon with all sorts of challenges, please consider subscribing and checking out my previous
Oh,
videos.
Baby Shuckle.
Consider becoming a patron or pressing the join button to become a member, so I can continue to make these experimental videos. Also, I'm recording this on my
Inverse
birthday.
evolution.
I don't know how that affects you. Let's begin. Now, since an HP-less Pokemon is already established by Shedinja, let's begin with attack. There are so many
That's
ways
fine.
we can go about making a Pokemon that has, the lowest attack ever. It could be something soft like a plush or a cloud. It could be a Pokemon that doesn't move in general, but since
Yeah.
this Pokemon will have access to special attack and speed, there's no reason to make it completely useless. What about a Pokemon that has power but refuses to physically attack? Something like a pacifist monk. It
I
could
was
be a
just about to
meditating
say.
psychic type that constantly
Ron,
evades
I was literally just about to say, like some kind of monk.
moves. But what could be something that, stands still and doesn't really attack back, but is still intimidating? A scarecrow monk could be cool, no?
there
It
you
could
go.
be made of straw, therefore it wouldn't even be able to hit hard because it's just made of hay. So let's make a still scarecrow monk that turns the other cheek. Perhaps it scares away foes by making them see frightening illusions. A grass psychic type that would be completely weak to Honchkrow. It's kind of funny if you think about it for a scarecrow.
Not
I want it to be
bad.
standing in the yoga tree position.
And not just that, and if you design it if you give it a new ability, the ability could be to, if it survives like so much damage without being KO'd, it causes wild Pokemon to flee.
But with its arms out, so it looks like a scarecrow. The hay on its head looks like both a straw hat, but also a rice farmer hat.
straw hat.
It's tough because we very much will be combining Eastern monks with Western farmers here. In fact, I did try to take inspiration from some Japanese scarecrows, but they look way goofier than American ones, which goes
Oh, yeah?
against the stoic Pokemon's vibe.
Hold on, I'm gonna Google that. Okay, looked it up. Yeah, they are kind of goofy. It's because of the face drawn on them.
I opted for stick legs so it can look agile. It spins on these legs to dodge. The character Kakashi in Naruto actually means scarecrow, so it is a funny coincidence that he kind of looks like Kakashi, looking back. It
Clever.
has segments on his abdomen that looks like a monk's robe, but also patterns on his torso that look like ribs, almost making it look like a starving monk. The colors also emphasize the
Nice.
monk origins too, while also naturally meshing with the straw and hay colors. The hole on his head obviously looks like a third eye. Behold, Fiberrest, the pacifist Pokemon,
Fiberrest.
a grass psychic type
Ooh.
with the new signature ability, Weaver, which boosts its
Okay, that shiny isn't too much. It's kind of... Actually, now looking at it, it's kind of green in a way. Like the hay used to make Fiberest has come back to life.
evasion every time it's hit. Fiberest are found in rural regions where they silently watch over fields and forests. They meditate for days without moving, using psychic awareness to detect threats from afar. When attacked by its natural predators, Fiberest
That's
does
pretty
not
useful.
strike. Its soft arms are incapable of harm. They simply pivot on their thin legs to dodge moves, using telekinesis to divert the attacks of its foes. In battle,
Nice.
Fiberest refuses physical violence, unleashing precise bursts of psychic force only when they cannot escape. Its last resort is to induce scary hallucinations that lower its opponent's will to fight. It has a signature move called Scare Tactic, which lowers the opponent's attack
Ooh,
and
Scare
special
Tactic.
attack. Basically,
Nice.
Noble Roar. It was pretty tough making it look like a scarecrow while still looking like a living creature. I also had to avoid making it look physically scary, since the whole point is that it's a humble monk and has no physical attack. In the end, we started strong, but we can definitely do better.
Oh yeah, next
Now it's
up.
time to make a defenseless Pokemon.
Defense.
But don't worry, because this Pokemon will be all about attack. More specifically, special attack. A glass cannon, if you will. Something
Ooh,
that shoots
that's
hard but can
cool.
easily be taken down. Before going with the literal, obvious I had alternate thoughts, like a bubble Pokemon or pistol shrimp. But then I realized that the most interesting Pokemon are ones that, have many origins that have been so well integrated with each other that
I probably would have done something like a blobfish, a creature that literally is so refined to living in the depths that if you were to bring it up even 5 feet, its bones or structure or whatever would shatter.
you don't even realize that they have so many inspirations. That's why I'm going to combine a ghost shrimp, also known as a glass shrimp, with a pistol shrimp so that it has a giant claw that is also a cannon. But
Like
the cannon will
Clavizel.
act as a telescope as
Clavizel.
well. Because our shrimp Pokemon will also be an astronaut with a glass bubble, helmet that looks like a spacesuit. It'll be this super
Ooh,
genius that
okay.
explores the depths. So not only does it
So
combine
like some kind of combination of Araquanid and Clawitzel.
all these inspirations, but also kind of falls under the trope of a super smart scientist who can attack with their inventions, but can easily be taken out in a hand-to-hand combat. I guess Iron Man counts as that trope. But he's
Pretty
strong.
much.
So it's a shrimp with a body that looks both like a diving suit and astronaut suit. Its eyes look like goggles that a super genius would wear, and the huge telescope gun is actually its right claw. Dude's obviously related to Clawitzer, I can't hide it. Its bubble
Exactly.
helmet is also made of thin glass-like membrane. Finding the shape of its tail was tough, but taking inspiration from glass art and glass figures did give it a bit of direction. But what sealed the concept was when I decided to give it a mustache that is actually still inspired by the mouth of a shrimp. It makes total sense, and makes it look more like a happy little scientist without it being out of left field. I even decided to give it a happy mouth. Now it has its own aesthetic and doesn't just look like a generic shrimp in a suit. Here
I
is
like this
Silicryll,
fella.
the brilliant Pokemon from
Oh.
Silica and Krill, but also
Okay, again, the shiny is a little lacking, but then again, it's fine. And the Ghost Electric type, ooh, I like it.
silly since
Okay?
this dude is pretty eccentric. It's a ghost electric type with the hidden ability Quick Draw and the new ability Specialist, which prioritizes stab moves when this Pokemon has full HP. Kind of like Gale Wings,
Neat.
but better. Silly
Very
Krill dwell
neat.
in the lightless trenches of the ocean, scouring the depths with their telescopic claw. Their eyes allow them to see infrared, ultraviolet, heat, ectoplasm, and other wavelengths that humans cannot.
Ectoplasm.
Encased in a brittle, glassy
they're all
exoskeleton,
ghost
they rely
types.
on their intellect to stay alive, using electrified pulses and spectral projections to study, battle, and communicate. Though they resemble mad
Neat.
scientists, Silicryll are joyful and endlessly curious, often launching themselves into battle just to test a new strategy. In the end, I
Ooh.
kind of incorporated Ghostbuster and even Mantis Shrimp origins, with the claw
Yeah,
that looks like a
little.
proton pack, and super good vision. They are one of those ghost types that isn't really dead, but has mastery over ghost powers and properties of a ghost, like its
Like Danny Phantom.
transparent body,
phantom.
ghost vision, and even the fact that it looks like an old man. A very fun Pokemon to witness if it were to, be animated.
Not bad.
Now we have to make a Pokemon with no special attack. This stat is usually associated with elemental powers and even intelligence, so we gotta make something stupid and physically capable. Something that
Make it a
embodies
rock.
brain and not brawn. That usually either means fighting or rock. The thing is, the fighting type still
Huh.
has Mega Aura, and fighting Pokemon are usually smart enough to be
That is
proficient
true.
in a specific martial art, so they aren't really dumb. Now a rock, that is dumb. I was originally thinking of a caveman, but that's barely a concept. So what else could represent a primitive man? How about cave paintings? Have you ever seen
Ah.
early cave paintings? The first pieces of art remaining. A lot of them include depictions of animals that
I
eventually
have.
became domesticated, like the now extinct Oryx. So what if these rudimentary
Oh,
drawings
Oryx, huh?
of cows
Okay.
were actually like that because they were depicting a simple looking Pokemon that looked like that? I want to make a blocky cow rock Oryx that has elements of incredibly famous prehistoric cave paintings, like the ones with the many
Okay,
hands.
okay.
So imagine a bovine that is made of slabs of clay and stone. It has this intimidating silhouette, but a super cute painted face. Very angular and aggressive body
Oh.
shapes, but super soft and rounded painted features. A fun contrast. In hindsight, I kind of realized that the face has the same shape as a Porygon's, but that's actually quite poetic, that the first man-made Pokemon would mimic the face of a primitive Pokemon like this one. This also justifies the
bad.
figurine look, since both this and Porygon are based on art. Porygon is based on, computer-generated art, while this one is based on the earliest forms of art, cave paintings. It has patterns and spots just like a cow, but they are obviously inspired by cave paintings.
Cool.
Perhaps there are 1,000 configurations that these hand patterns can come in, just like a Spinda. Check out
Oh, that'd be
Oroka,
nice.
the wall Pokemon from Oryx and Ochre.
Okay, that shiny is better, I'll say, because of its just being in the constant blue. Well, but maybe that's just me trying to get more colors out of it. It's a simple Pokemon. Of course, the shiny would be just as
The
simple.
pigment that they use to make cave paintings. It's a rock type with the abilities Oblivious and Stamina. This Pokemon's massive, angular body inspired some of the earliest known cave paintings. Though slow-witted, it possesses immense strength and endurance, capable of plowing through stone with ease.
You big
Ancient
dumb.
humans relied on it for hauling, warmth, and even shelter, making it one of the first Pokemon to be domesticated. Its body is as dense as carved rock, and its stubbornness rivals its bulk. It is incredibly friendly
Nice.
despite its power. Early humans would decorate their Aroker with pigments and clay, which made it easy to differentiate them among various Aroker that grazed in open fields. Their carefree
Oh, so wait, would that mean that one without colors would have no hands on it at all, and possibly no face?
lifestyle leads Aroker to have extremely long lifespans. I can't believe that I, last minute, came up with the idea that cavemen would actually paint on this Pokemon so that they could easily prove which Aroker was theirs before, laws existed. Because, back then, men squabbled over which cow was theirs.
That is true.
Special defense is kind of the hardest to define, though. A Pokemon who lacks special defense would be especially weak to the elements. But how do we make something that looks like it still has the defense stat, but no special defense? Maybe something that has a lot of layers, but they're extremely thin layers. Kind of like how a book has a lot of pages, so it can
Okay.
absorb an impact, but like you can easily
My first idea was some kind of Pokemon in a coat, like a snow run.
set it on fire or waterlog a book. I think I have something that I can combine it with. You know
And,
how moths
damaged
are
by
attracted to
bugs.
flames? What if we make a moth that is actually afraid of
Bugs.
light? A
That's
smart
what I meant.
bookworm moth that spends its time inside, reading. An albino moth with no pigments whose body looks like paper. I want to give it the aesthetic of like a nerdy girl with glasses, like, Velma. I mean,
Yeah,
pantry
obviously
moths
Velma.
coming out of books is a trope because they eat paper. So making a paper-like moth is a kind of fine combination. So I want to
Not
make
bad.
a moth that has this nerdy girl trope. So big eyes that look like stylish glasses, pigtails that are actually its antennas, and even a fuzzy abdomen that looks like a thick turtleneck sweater. Since it's not a flying type,
Huh.
its paper-like wings actually act like a robe that protects it from sunlight, although pretty unnecessary. Its arms give it the
I like
impression that
this.
it's shy, but also planning something nefarious. Honestly, the
Oh.
patterns on its abdomen
Oh, it's definitely planning someone with those beet red eyes.
make it look even more regal, and along with the crown-like top knot on its head, makes it look like an evil queen. The regal blue, along with her albino colors, and then classic red eyes also match the albino look. Beware, Noctatter. The
Okay, I don't know why, but this Pokemon is really cute. And I'm loving that shiny because it's got that mint chocolate chip color.
photophobic Pokemon from Nocturnal and Tattered. A bug dart type with the abilities Shield Dust, Overcoat, and the new hidden ability, Sparkling Skin, which
Ooh.
blinds its opponents and heightens its evasion during harsh sunlight. It would die to a fire move anyway, so might as well have an ally summon the sun in a double battle. Noctatter detests
might as
sunlight,
well.
retreating into caves and abandoned buildings to study until nightfall. It wraps itself in its delicate, paper-thin wings like a shawl. Though its fuzzy torso appears cozy, its intellect is razor sharp, and it's quite jealous of those who enjoy the sun. Its drooping antennas twitch constantly, alerting it to the faintest flicker of light. The dust that accumulates on its body sparkles violently, blinding opponents. It claws at its foes the moment they are unable to see, letting out their pent-up
Cat
aggression.
attack.
Honestly, the ability Fluffy actually makes a whole lot of sense here, since it's also weak to fire. So let me know if that could have replaced Overcoat. I think this one may be the hardest to use in battle out of like the 5 I'm making today. But again, maybe I'm missing something you masters could figure out.
Alright, last
And finally,
one.
speed. Something that lacks speed is very easy to measure and emphasize. Slow animals are just, one
A rock, a snail, a sloth.
Google search away. And obviously,
Anything.
turtles, snails, and starfish are contenders. We can combine
Yeah.
an animal with something that doesn't move at all, or does so over centuries, like a tree or iceberg. But why not just combine the most obvious ones, a sloth and a rock? Imagine how slow a
Obviously.
sloth made out of rock would be. You'd see one and you'd fully accept that it has a speed stat of 1. It's also a good animal to use for a Pokemon that still has a great, defense and attack stat, because it'll have sharp rock claws. Now, conceptually, this
That is
one is
pretty
the
good.
most simple, but I have some neat tricks that will actually make the design pretty clever. It's a two-toed rock sloth, and its claws are sharp stones as well. But you know the classic patterns that a three-toed sloth has around its eyes? That'll actually be negative space.
yeah?
Holes in the rock, and its eyes will be inside the hole, like sunken eyes of something that hasn't eaten in years. That's why it
Ooh.
has a hole in its belly. Dude is hollow and is kind of it's like a cave in the form of a Pokemon. I'm taking
Oh,
inspiration
God.
from various cave-dwelling beings from fiction like the Morlocks, which inspired the blue color of this Pokemon. Here is Lethargic, the petrified Pokemon, from lith, meaning raw.
Okay, and that shiny is pretty good. I'll give it that. It's not perfect, but it's good.
rock, and lethargic since it lacks energy. A rock type with the new ability called Aftershock. Any move that hits
Neat.
lethargic does damage 1 turn later. That's right, this Pokemon doesn't even register attacks properly, which makes sense for the slowest Pokemon in existence. Lethargic spend nearly its entire life unmoving, often mistaken for an ordinary boulder. Its rocky fur is so dense that moss, fungi, and even small Pokemon make homes on its back and within its hollow, cavernous stomach. The lack of
Oh, wait, so it's kind of like a Torterra in that sense. So if Pokemon is born on its back, it will live its whole life on its back.
nutrients within
Okay.
it has petrified its entire body. When provoked, it can swipe with jagged stone claws, but the windup is so slow that most foes simply give up before the strike lands. I like the idea that it's empty because it's a hollow rock, but also because it basically does not eat, which only makes it slower. But please quickly press the like button and subscribe for more Fakemon videos. Check out the previous videos.
Okay, I have to say, that was actually pretty good. And all of these mons look nice. But if I had to give a 1, 2, 3 to any of them, I'd give it to yeah. The no defense one gets first place. The no special attack one gets second place, and this guy gets third place in my opinion. Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.